Hello, this is the Bible in Fewer Words. We are Carol and Steve Wells. This is episode 101, the book of 1 Samuel, chapters 1 through 3. If you enjoy this podcast, consider joining Matthew, Linda, and Theo, who support us through patreon.com/BFW. Hi, Steve.
Hi, Carol.
How are you today?
I'm fine. Yeah, we're done with Judges, and now we're going to get into a new phase in the history of Israel.
Oh, and we also did the short book of Ruth.
Kind of out of place, almost timeless, right?
Uh-huh. Okay, let's go ahead.
All right. Chapter 1, verse 1. Elkanah had 2 wives, Hannah and Peninnah.
Are we going to find out who Elkanah is at some point? Just a guy?
He's just a guy as far as I know.
Okay,
Yeah.
I guess we'll learn more. Verse 5. He loved Hannah, but God had shut up her womb. So God should just stay out of the womb business.
Yeah. Peninnah, Hannah's adversary, made fun of Hannah because the Lord had shut up her womb.
That is not a nice thing to do.
No.
Each year that God kept Hannah's womb shut, Hannah wept, prayed, and didn't eat.
Elkanah said to her, "Why are you crying and not eating? Aren't I better than 10 sons?"
I don't know why men think they're so hot and just can be a substitute for children. It's just not the same thing, Elkanah. All right, so Hannah wept and said to God, "If you give me a son, I'll give him back to you and never cut his hair."
So I guess he's going to be a Nazirite, because that's what they do. They don't say that, and they don't say anything about not drinking wine.
Uh-huh.
But Samuel, I guess, is not going to cut his hair, maybe during his whole life.
And you say that, Nazirite, and I feel like I should know what special qualities that has, other than long hair.
Samson was a Nazirite.
Uh-huh.
And then there's this thing about how do you become a Nazirite. One of the things is that you don't cut your hair. The other thing is you don't drink alcohol.
Oh, okay.
The priest, Eli, saw her mouth moving while she prayed and thought she was drunk.
So he said, "How long will you be drunk? Put away your wine."
"I'm not drunk, I'm praying," she said. "I'm not a daughter of Belial."
A daughter of Belial. We've heard of sons of Belial,
Yeah.
and they're SOBs.
Right.
But a DOB just doesn't have the same ring to it.
No, but I guess that's not a good thing.
So I'm not drunk, I'm just praying. Leave me alone,
Yeah.
priest. So Eli said, "Okay, God will give you whatever you asked."
So Hannah ate again and wasn't sad anymore.
Elkanah and Hannah got up early the next morning, worshipped God, and had sex.
Yeah. And the Lord remembered Hannah.
What do you think is the result of the Lord remembering Hannah?
She conceived and had a son,
Yes.
whom she named Samuel.
Oh.
So Samuel was born sort of in a miraculous birth, sort of.
Uh-huh.
God opened her womb.
Yeah.
He remembered her and opened her womb.
But it wasn't an immaculate conception. Like, it's not like...
No, that's right.
Because
it
they had
wasn't.
sex, it says
They
right
did.
there.
They did. But God was definitely involved
Yeah.
in the conception here.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
Those are things he enjoys the most, I think. Being involved in conceptions. God. No. Okay. So chapter 2. Hannah prayed to God saying, "My horn is exalted, my mouth is enlarged over my enemies. There's no rock like God. The Lord kills people, and then he brings them back to life."
He set the earth on pillars. He keeps the feet of saints. His enemies will be broken in pieces. He will thunder upon them.
This is a prayer?
Yeah. Well, prayer, sometimes praising God, saying nice things about God. These are the nice things about God, I guess. They don't seem very nice, but I guess to God they're nice.
Yeah, like the line, "The Lord kills people."
Yeah.
And then he brings them back to life? I'm not sure that's
And he
always...
breaks his enemies in pieces. Anyway, yeah, all that stuff.
Okay. And that's the whole prayer that you have here?
No, these are just my favorite lines. The prayer's a little longer than that, so I cut a few lines.
All right, thank you. So verse 12. Eli's sons were sons of Belial.
Yeah, of course they were. They didn't know God, and they stole from the people who were making animal sacrifices to God.
How could they be sons of priests and not know God? Didn't they follow him around?
Oh, no, that happens all the time. You know, sons of ministers, sons of priests. Oh, not sons of priests, but well,
yeah.
maybe sons of priests. But, you know, sons of ministers, oftentimes sons and daughters, don't follow in their father's footsteps and don't end up believing. They become non-believers. But I suppose this isn't really a question of belief. It's more a matter of behavior.
Yes.
They're misbehaving.
Okay.
But when you don't know God, you misbehave, according to the Bible.
Yeah. So verse 15. They wanted the meat for themselves. Oh, so they didn't want to give it for the sacrifice.
Yeah.
I see. And they didn't want any sodden flesh. What is that exactly? Like the bad
That's
parts?
kind of just...
The liver and kidneys?
I don't know. It's like, it's not well cooked. It's just nasty. They want the good stuff. They want the good
good meat.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
It may be kind of rotted fish, half rotted flesh.
I wouldn't want that either.
Yeah.
And I'm sure God wouldn't want that.
Yeah.
Those are probably the leftover pieces, and that's what they should have had. But they just wanted the prime stuff.
Yeah, I don't know. But anyway, they were eating stuff they apparently shouldn't have been eating.
Mm-hmm. When Eli was old, he heard stories about how his sons were having sex with women at the door of the tabernacle. He said to them,
"Why are you doing things like that?"
But they didn't listen to their father because God had already decided to kill them.
Yeah. Yeah, so Eli was trying to talk him out of it. He's saying, don't do stuff like that. But
repent.
It didn't do any good because God had already decided he was going to kill them.
So this is God's decision.
It was God's decision. I'm going to kill these guys, so they're not going to listen to you. So don't bother.
Yeah. It's a little bit like when God was hardening the hearts of the Pharaoh.
Exactly like that.
And others.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, so verse 27. A man of God came to Eli and said to him, this is what God says.
I'll consume your eyes, grieve your heart, and everyone in your family will die young. And this will be a sign to you. I'll kill your 2 sons, Hophni and Phinehas.
Well, that would be a nice little telegram to get, wouldn't it?
Yeah.
Okay, so what does Eli say to that, do you think? He doesn't say anything.
No, he doesn't say anything.
Jeepers. That's pretty awful to have God say that.
Yeah. Well, I think Eli isn't too surprised. He knew that his sons were sons of Belial who didn't know God and were misbehaving, and he's probably not too surprised God decided to kill him.
Okay. Chapter 3. When Samuel was a child, he ministered to God for Eli, whose eyesight was beginning to fail.
Once, when the lamp went out in the temple, and Samuel was asleep, God called to Samuel.
Samuel ran to Eli and said, here I am. Why did you call me?
Eli answered, I didn't call you. Go back to sleep.
God called Samuel again, and he ran back to Eli and said, here I am.
I didn't call you. Go back to sleep, Eli said.
God called Samuel for the 3rd time. Samuel ran to Eli and said, here I am.
Then Eli figured out that it was God that was calling Samuel.
He said to Samuel,
Go lie down. If God calls, say, Speak, for your servant hears you.
So Samuel lay down again.
This time God came and stood in front of Samuel and said, Samuel, Samuel.
Samuel answered, Speak, for your servant hears you.
God said, I'll do something that will cause everyone's ears to tingle.
That's weird.
Yeah, there's a lot of things that are weird here. You know, God had been calling Samuel.
Yes.
Samuel thought it was Eli
3
times. But now God is standing right in front of the little boy, Samuel, and speaking to him.
Shouldn't Samuel, die as soon as he sees God?
Right. It's not supposed to happen, but it's happening right here. And then the other thing is when God says, I'm going to do something that's going to cause everyone's ears to tingle. That's something he says a lot in the Old Testament. I'm going to do something. It's going to cause people's ears to tingle. It's going to be a really...
Tingle good or tingle bad?
It's going to shock people.
Oh,
I think
okay.
that's what tingling ears means. I'm going to really shock people with what I'm going to do here.
Yeah, well, he probably needs to preface every line with that because he does shock people a lot.
Yes, that's right.
Okay, so verse 12. I'll do the things to Eli that I promised to do to him. So those are things like make him blind, kill his family, kill his two sons, and
right.
everybody's going to die young.
Mm-hmm. I'll judge his descendants for the things his sons did.
That's nice.
Yeah.
No animal sacrifices will prevent me from carrying out my threat.
Samuel was afraid to tell Eli the bad news from God.
But Eli called Samuel and said, Hey, what did God say to you?
God will do even worse things to you if you don't tell me.
Samuel told Eli what God said. Eli said, Okay, whatever God wants is fine with me. So it sounds like Eli's kind of resolved, like, God's just got it in for me.
I think Eli knows God.
Yeah.
So he's not surprised by this. God's already told him he's going to do horrible things. And this is just more of the same. Yeah, I kind of knew that. Whatever God wants is fine.
So verse 19. After that, Samuel grew, and his hair probably grew.
Yeah.
God was with him, and he let none of God's words fall to the ground.
And everyone knew that Samuel was a prophet.
Oh, Samuel's a prophet.
Yeah.
And what does God's words fall to the ground mean?
He's going to obey and listen to everything that God says.
Oh, okay.
None of his words are just going to fall to the ground. They're going to go right in his ear.
Mm-hmm. Maybe make his ears tingle a little bit.
Yeah, maybe.
Okay, well, that was a lot of information.
Uh-huh.
Okay. Thanks for sharing this with me.
Sure.
And thanks, listeners. See you next time. Bye.
Bye-bye.